And by that, I mean, the more I learn about him and the more I understand his fascination with collectivism and socialism, I'm going to be all over the map. One of the problems with bringing about socialism in America is the country's too big. You can get away with kind of a quasi-hybrid capitalism, socialism in, say, Finland, which has 6 million people. You can pull it off. It's too hard. You try it in this country, then you might as well become China or Russia, because this country just has too many people. It doesn't work.
Especially all of our new friends that have entered the country the last couple of years.
But it does, it works to a degree in with smaller populations, many of whom are on board with it. They were willing to go on board with it. Germany is the outlier there. Germany has a hybrid capitalism, socialism system, and it has 80 million people in a country about the size of Montana. And they make it work more often than not. It can't work here. The numbers don't work.
Okay.
Now back to Walz. He has a fascination with this. Okay, we don't know, where did that come from? Small town kid in Nebraska. The old man was gainfully employed.
Did you see the line he had yesterday where he touted the graduating class of, was it 25 people?
Yeah.
So somewhere around there.
He does that half for his cousins.
And half of them he's related to. I'm thinking, would you be promoting that?
A lot of banjo music in that town.
That's exactly what I thought.
So where did it come from? What did he hear at the kitchen table when he was a kid?
No.
You don't think you don't want to go back that far, huh?
We don't have to, because he didn't hear any of that nonsense at the table when he was a kid.
Where did he get it?
It's from his superiors in the Democratic Party. He's doing what he's told. We've said that over and over again.
Well, yes.
He's a cuckold. He'll do whatever he's told.
But he's coming by it pretty naturally. And it does make me want, when I first, I'm getting a little up there now, but I can remember back in the day when I was just breaking into the newspaper game, when we did stories on people, they were pretty good stories. They were thorough.
I'm glad you brought this up.
If I did a story on Rod Carew, for example, and I did many, I went all the way back. I went into Harlem. I went to the train in Panama. I went all the way back, and you never see that anymore. One of the questions I would always ask somebody is, well, what did your old man do for a living? What about your mom? Do you have siblings? And remember how we was it Jason Kubel we talked to?
It was Jason Kubel, yes.
And it was at Twins Fest.
Yes.
And merely by asking him some of those questions, we learned more about Kubel than had ever been related to the sporting public. His old man was a musician,
and his guard was down.
Yes,
as a result of you asking.
These stories are not appearing in this day and age.
You understand why you did that, don't you? Because the people that influenced you did that. You were influenced by columnists and reporters who were old-time real journalists that did that all the time.
But that's what we all did.
Right.
It wasn't just me. It was people in every town did that.
I was actually kind of disappointed you didn't ask what Kubel's batting average was with runners in scoring.
I don't care.
So if you go to page A7 of the Star-Tribune today, there's actually, you should get it. Somebody should bring it to you right now.
I got it right here.
There's a piece down the middle, and then there's two columns, one on each side, one saying, who is Tim Walz?
Yeah.
And you'd think that these questions would be answered, but it's press release nonsense. Born and raised in Nebraska, former teacher.
I see it here. I looked at it today.
Yeah. Scroll down to the really, really important one. He won the congressional delegation hot dish cook-off. That is real. That's good to know.
Come on.
That's really good to know. And then if you go over to the other side, Walz on the issues, you see more nonsense, which is actually better journalism. That's what is on the left side.
He drinks 3 Diet Mountain Dews a day.
That's important to know, Joe. Voters need to know that before they go to the polls.
I know nothing. And I've been the one that said, I would like to know more. I want to know what happened in Trump's home when he was 6 or 7. I want to know.
Well, his dad wasn't a good guy.
Well, I want to know that. I want that explored. Same with Walz. I don't know a thing. He is so ready and willing. For example, he's very out front in advocating for the LGBTQIZ community, right? That's okay, fine. But it's to the point in this state where if you're a transitioning child in another state and your parents don't go along with it, all you got to do is get to Minnesota and you'll be protected, and the parents will be kept out of it. How do you get that far? That's evil. That's evil.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think he's an evil guy, but that's evil.
That's
evil.
That's where the Democratic Party is at in that instance, in that issue, with that issue.
He thinks we owe a degree of thanks to the immigrants flooding the country. No, we don't.
In what sense?
No, we don't. I think he's referring to, I would hope that he means historically, because the country was built on the arriving immigrants. Maybe he means historically, but I don't think Americans owe a debt of gratitude to the people ruining Texas border towns with their expectations and demands to be taken care of.
What nobody ever talks about with the immigrant issue is that can only be said on the basis of each individual. You cannot make a blanket statement, pro or con, regarding immigrants.
And
it's a case-by-case issue.
And I'm trying to balance what I'm saying against the realization that the vice presidency, the way it's set up in this country, is largely ceremonial. Obviously, though, it certainly comes into play if he has to become the president.
Well, the
that
first
ain't
30
ceremonial.
days, you know what it's like the first 30 days any president takes office. First they undo everything the last president did with the presidential ruling.
Yeah, but he himself cannot do that.
Right.
That
Vice
would have to be
President
Harris. So,
right.
So long as he's vice president, well, first of all, he's out of our hair. He can't preside over any more frauds in Minnesota.
I've seen that a lot, and that does not comfort me.
No, it does. But it happens to be the truth.
Yeah, and it's funny, but it's not comforting.
But I'd like to know what he heard. I remember wondering this about Wellstone. What did you hear at the kitchen table that made you think life was so unfair? What made, Walz is already spouting this nonsense about Trump only wants to lower taxes for his buddies. No, that's not true. But the Democrats have played this sociological game since the beginning of time, that people who succeed have done so unfairly, that somehow you're getting screwed. If your neighbor makes a lot of money, somehow that's unfair to you. That's not true. That's not true.
We don't think that way.
The America that GLers know is the America, well, your neighbor has the chance to make as much money. There's no finite amount of money. You can make as much as you want.
Right.
But what Walz wants to do is take it, punish you. Where did he learn that?
It's a party issue, if you ask me.
Children are off limits in GL, children of politicians. I think we've been fairly true to that over the years, haven't we?
Yes, very much so.
Now, Walz's daughter is now 19. Is she fair game?
She's an adult.
Okay, at 19, we can get a glimpse of what life must be like in the Walz household based on the daughter's behavior. So far, am I being fair?
I think so.
All right. Her name is Hope Walz. She's 19. She's the daughter of Tim and what's the wife's name? Gwen. Now, she's apparently threatened to beat up Senate Majority Leader Paul Gazelka, who's up from Gull Lakeway. He's a Republican.
Yep.
I don't know who will understand this, but I guess that's the point. I'm reading her tweet. I don't know who will understand this, but I guess that's the point. Paul Gazelka, it's on site, and I mean it, the governor's daughter wrote. Now, Now, before we all interrupt each other, let me just continue to guide the conversation. You know what that means? It's all on site.
I had to look it up.
I did too. Well, I didn't, because Alpha News described it for me. The term on site, when used in this slang context, lacks an official definition. The Urban Dictionary indicates that it means an individual is ready to use violence without hesitation. On site means that when you have a beef with somebody, you automatically fight them. There is no talking it out, states another Urban Dictionary entry. Walz's daughter then responded to criticism of her apparent threat by noting that Gazelka is a grown-ass man while she's a 5'4", 19-year-old girl. So what is she saying? That on site does not mean what the so-called Urban Dictionary defines it as? Help me understand this 19-year-old slang.
Yeah, all she's doing is flexing.
Yeah.
That's
Calling
all
them
she's
out,
doing.
yeah.
Hope's Twitter file.
She's thirsty.
Her Twitter file is private, but
Joe,
screenshots were taken of her Twitter account by people who have access to her private account.
Yeah.
Apparently, she also, not apparently, there's proof of it, she would warn rioters during the George Floyd week
Sure did.
that, could someone who actually, so this is from her, May 28th, 2020, when she wasn't 19, could someone who actually has followers relay, she can't spell relay to the masses that have gotten National Guard trending? The Guard will not be present tonight. There's a lot of misinformation that is further spreading fear and chaos at the scene of the protest. So she was telling people, don't worry about it. The Guard is not showing up tonight. Now, she had to be getting that from being at home and knowing that. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then also on May 28, she writes, the Guard cannot be sent within minutes. It takes time for them to deploy because they come from all over the state. To be clear, the National Guard will not be present tonight. On May 27th, she's responding to what was written by another social media user on May 27th. Urgent, if you're at the protest, get out now. National Guard and SWAT en route. They're almost here. We'll be using city buses to arrest everyone, as many people as possible. Get everyone out. All right. And that's what she was responding to.
Kind of proves that the Walz household knew everything that was going on, and it makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
What was the date on that, by the way? Was it the 20th or after the 20th?
After the 20th.
Or, excuse me, 28th, not the 20th.
On the 27th, a social media user said to the rioters, get out now. The Guard is on the way. On May 28th, the next day, she wrote 2 tweets telling rioters and protesters that, no, the Guard is not imminent.
I believe the 28th is the day that the Guard was contacted in the morning.
I have a complete breakdown of that, yes. And I don't want to drift too. She's currently at the U of M, and I don't want to get too deeply involved with what she thinks, because I don't really care what she thinks. But what's interesting is that she had to be reflecting knowledge she was gleaning from being in the same room as her father.
That's the point. Yeah. So should he be held accountable for her actions 4 years ago?
Well, if she was 15, that's up to him whether he wants to.
And I wouldn't get too gassed about the Gazelka thing. She's a simp, Joe.
Who is? Hope?
The kid.
Yeah. Well, I don't think she literally intended to have fisticuffs, but she was.
That's what I'm saying.
She was talking big.
Right.
I guess Gazelka is at odds, as he might be, with Walz. Gazelka is the Senate Majority Leader, and he disapproves of Walz's politics, as do I. Now, how important is it to know him? How important is it to pursue what I want pursued, given that as vice president, if he falls into line with the behavior of vice presidents throughout history, many of them are easy to forget. They live in that Naval Observatory house and they show up once in a while to have tea. What the hell do? They don't do anything. They're ceremonial. With obviously the important caveat there is that they step into the presidency if they have to. So beyond that, how should I continue to wonder about Walz's upbringing, for example? It doesn't make any difference at this point, does it?
I was just going to say it doesn't.
We're here now and he's 60. So whatever he heard at the age of 9, 10, 11, and 12 probably has no bearing on what's happening. Yes, it has a great bearing on his behavior, but it has no bearing on the national political front.
I disagree.
Well, I said that clumsily. What he is what he is now, it does me no good to learn why or how. He is what he is.
Okay, yeah, I'll accept that version. But I think the voters need to know who he is. And we need to dig deeper than, the Star Tribune and the Reformer dig. Because they're just promoting him as much as possible.
A couple of emails. First of all, our correspondent in Aiken, Bill Stein.
You got a candle looking over there.
Huh?
You're playing with the mic.
It falls.
Yeah.
Yep. Stein wrote this Sunday. As I was mowing my lawn on Lard Lake, which is in Aiken County, I was pondering, why in the world is Kamala Harris seriously considering Tim Walz? He wrote this Sunday before Walz was named.
Okay.
I suddenly recalled one of my axioms of life that I had developed long ago. Never accept an invitation to a Sweet 16 party given by a girl with all the looks and personality of a Joy Behar or Rosie O'Donnell. There won't be any good-looking girls there. They won't be invited because they make the hostess look bad. All other candidates for VP are reasonably intelligent, decent-looking, accomplished men. And then there's Walz. He is her insurance policy against impeachment, every bit as she was for Biden. He is a doofus of the first order who will always make her look good by comparison. I write this on Sunday. Who knows by now she is picked?
Wow.
Yeah.
Little
Of that
crystal ball.
In other words, his explanation for the pick is that he makes her look good. I don't know. He looked pretty good yesterday. He took to that. He walked out. I meant to call you Rook, but you were probably unavailable. He walked out in Philadelphia exactly the way Johnny Carson used to walk out on the stage. The same mannerisms, the hand in the coat, and then the going like this. It's exactly what it was.
His smile was weird.
Exactly like Johnny Carson.
Yeah, I can see that because I did watch that.
Well, this is
He had the great wave.
Yeah, it was just weird. I feel like I'm not watching reality.
I've got the derangement syndrome with him so bad that as soon as I see him, I change the channel. I don't understand. I can't tolerate him for 1 second. It's really bad. I feel like I should be asking for some sort of medication to get over this.
Here's a woman who's she didn't ask me not to, but I'm not going to. Here's a woman whose name I won't use. Example of a clueless Walz supporter. My mom. I love my mom. She's super supportive and always there for me. I'm 50 and she still refers to me as her baby girl to anyone she meets. We are absolutely on the opposite end of the political spectrum, though. I thought I'd give you a picture of a Walz supporter. My mom is proudly self-described as so far left she turns in circles. She's almost 73, still working, struggling with inflation, thinks Trump is evil incarnate, and Walz is her hero. She texted me a picture of her with Walz and the caption, "Woohoo, my hero in line to be next vice president of the U.S." I'm speechless. His policies have directly impacted her life, and yet he's a saint. My response was that I'll keep my thoughts to myself with my mom. Lifelong rural Minnesotan, share your sentiments on Walz and flabbergasted by my family and friends. I think that's not uncommon.
No.
That is
And
not uncommon.
Not only that, I think you could say that for both sides. That could have been a kid on the left writing a left-leaning talk show about their parents that love Trump.
Yeah, exactly.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening.
One more.
Good evening, everyone.
Three.
So somebody explain this, and it might make dealing with her a little bit easier. Just think that she's always a half a bottle of wine in.
There you go.
She's always 3-4
Everyone's
glasses
favorite
into a
aunt.
bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Everybody's
and then
favorite
it's
aunt.
like, oh, okay, she's not so
Yeah.
bad. She's half ripped.
Aunt Kamala's all hammered in the
Yeah,
corner
she's
again.
okay. Yeah,
Here's
she's
a
fine.
controversy that just flared up. Is it aunt or aunt?
I believe it's
I say
Aunt.
I say aunt.
Yeah, so do I.
Aunt's the
Aunt Georgiana, yes.
Good evening.
No, get
Oh,
Aunt Carmel out of there. Look it up on the dictionary.
on the old Googles.
Yeah, is it aunt
Aunt.
or
Here's-
aunt?
Here's my rule. If it's you say auntie or you say aunt,
Yes.
that's the rule.
I
Okay.
do think you say aunt. I say auntie.
Oh, you
Aunt.
do?
Aunt.
Yay!
Aunt.
It's aunt.
How
How's it
do
spelled?
If it is
A-U-N-T?
auntie, if it
It's
is
A-U-N-T.
Well,
isn't
let
it?
me try this one. Hold
Yeah,
on.
correct,
hold on.
Joe.
Aunt.
It is aunt. Okay.
Aunt.
There we go.
Wow.
Now,
Who is your
enter in
mayor?
auntie, I-E.
Yeah, do
auntie.
A-U-N-T-I-E.
We can't go on until this is solved.
All right. Here's
Auntie. Auntie.
Huh?
Auntie.
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 Oh,
Auntie.